Welcome to Hindsight Hacking. I'm Corey Carter.
And I'm Ron Cool, and we've talked to hundreds of entrepreneurs hacking their hindsight to give you better foresight.
And now we're bringing you those same great interviews along with other mindset hacks, visibility hacks, and traffic hacks, and more to get you all the tools you need to gain more visibility and gain more traffic.
And of course, gain more sales. So head over to gethhm.com/toolbox to get all the free resources to help you get more.
And so, without further ado, let's get to it. What is going on, everyone? Hello. And Sue, thank you so much for joining us. Now,
thank you. I'm excited
to everyone out there, you got to know Sue. And let me tell you why. So Sue helps business owners claim peace and ROI. That's part of my favorite piece here that we talk about, the peace and ROI on social media by elevating process power and productivity. That is a mouthful. As an ex-tech startup turned entrepreneur who brings holistic approach founded in strategy while focusing on bringing out the inner purpose. Sue, I am so excited to have you here. I know our previous conversation was such a great one that we had to have you on the show. So thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we had a great dynamic. I loved chatting with you guys. I'm excited to be able to bring it to your people.
Now we're excited to have you. This is a perfect example of why Corey goes first. He gets to say all the hard stuff, and I just say, gosh, can you tell us a little bit more about you?
Sure. So yeah, I am a ex-corporate tech startup world rat, I guess it was kind of the old school world, right? Old school word. Was in that world for about 16 years. And I just had this bug that I knew there was something greater I wanted to do. I didn't quite know what that was yet, but I went through a lot of workaholic, high stress, and a lot of things that actually quite took me down from a health and stress perspective in that world. And so I thought, I got to a few turning points in my life and decided, why am I working so hard for somebody else, for something that maybe isn't my passion? Let me take all of these skills and apply them in a new way, in my way that I can choose and work with the people that I want to work with. And so when I was in the world of tech startup, kind of the first round, when that bubble burst way back in, the early 2000s, I wore all the hats. And so I thought, I'm going to just take all these hats and put them together in my own way. And so in 2009, I made the bold move of saying, I'm out, and then set on my plan to, well, what I'm doing now is not what my plan was, but it has evolved greatly, and I'm really excited about that. And that's where a lot of my lessons come from. Nice.
Well, another piece of your introduction that I didn't mention was your fitness expert by night. And you mentioned there being in the corporate exec world, your health was lacking. Like, tell me, how did you turn, even to the fitness side and make the health such a priority that you're sharing it with others?
Yeah, it's so interesting how it all came together, because I was definitely that person in the world of tech. I was like this all day. Then I got home and I was like this all night. And then I probably slept like this, and there was a lot of, I dealt with a lot of anxiety, eating on the go, not eating super healthfully. And I was always active, but not in a way that it served me, right? And not in a structured way. And so I've always been a dancer and a runner. So I was always in that world, but not from the teaching perspective. And so when I quit that job, I was taking a lot more fitness classes, trying to get back on a more consistent routine for myself in ways that really fed my soul more. And I just kept hearing from people, you should teach this class, you should do this, you should get into that. And I thought back and I thought, you know what, when I was in the corporate world and I was working with trainers, there was always this little voice in my head that said, I should have done this. And sure, it wasn't the thing my dad was telling me to do growing up. Be a fitness instructor. You'll make all kinds of lacking income in that role. But it was always a little voice in my head. And I thought, well, I'm too old for that. Well, that's not true, because at age 37, I became a certified fitness instructor. And I'm certified in a wide variety of formats. And in spite of today's world, we've gotten creative. And so I'm still teaching some fitness classes a couple times a week through Zoom. And that was really something that I started to really realize as I got more into speaking and the wellness side of what technology does to us. that path really came together to also support each of my passions. So it was really cool. One of the unexpected things that took place in my journey.
I love that. I love and I've talked about this before, the should haves, the should have, could haves, and the regrets that you can have around, gosh, I should have done that. And that was actually one of the conversations I had with my wife when I was thinking about doing this crazy thing with Corey that made me quit my job. She's like, I was like, but I don't want to have the should haves, honey. I don't want to look back and go, I should have done that. I should have done that, but I've never said I should have been a health instructor in the evening time. Never would have said that. I probably didn't say that in the daytime either, but it's awesome that you found time. And that's one thing that I want to kind of ask about, because I know a lot of people will use the excuse of I don't have the time. Right. So how did you, besides just saying I made the time, what was the click to do that?
Yeah, well, and definitely for me, teaching made a huge difference, because I will be honest, if I was just the student side saying, I need to go take this class, I need to get to the gym, I need to go run, it would probably be a very different story, especially if someone's starting with that, right? Because if you don't already have that motivation, creating that routine is very difficult. And so for me, I may have always been a very others focused person. And if I am committed to you, I am going to be there. And that's been really great, because it is something that was like, I have my class schedule, and then I start to build my community of people that I absolutely love and adore. And we just feed each other's soul. So if I'm working on something, I'm making that class time happen no matter what. And so I show up, I will be there. And then, once that consistency is set, then it becomes a lot easier to make happen. But it definitely is hard, because especially in, as entrepreneurs, and we get into our creative zone and you're like working on something and then something breaks and then you fix it and you're in that zone and it's like, I got to do this thing, right? And so then you have to find a way to structure leaving things off at a point that you can jump back into without pulling through that cobweb of where was I at? What was I doing? And so that alone made me have to create some processes and structures to say, here's where I left off, package it all up nicely so I can come right back in and keep moving forward.
I love that. And, Ron and I, it made me think of when Ron and I do any of our coaching, it just goes back to, we try to get everybody, if you're going to learn it, you got to do it, and then you got to teach it. Right. And so the best way to truly implement things is to learn it and then do it and then teach it. And so you being a health by night fitness instructor, like that helps get that part of it. And it forces you to just go and do it. So anybody can take that outside of anything that they're doing. If they want to actually do it, if they want to actually be good at it, then learn it, do it, and teach it, right?
Yeah, make it a requirement.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, all right, 2009, made the leap. Now, did you just get so sick and fed up with everything that you're just like, I am done, I'll figure it out? Or did you slowly start to build up a side hustle, which eventually led to a full-time hustle? Like, where did you go to make that leap?
Yeah. When you talk about the, I shoulda or had a shoulda, my shoulda for a long time was that I should have tried the side hustle thing, right? Because even though I wore all the hats and I knew what to do, it's very different when you're in the world and trying to make it happen. But that's not what I did. I went from one experience in tech startup that was just absolutely amazing. And we're still like a family of people who are still connected on Facebook and work with each other and collaborate. And this is back from like 2006, that company closed, and we're still connected. It was such a great experience. Then I went on to another one that was not the same. It was just very different from a morale and motivation and all of that. And that's when I really started to get in that mode of my wellness was suffering. But I was go, go, go. And so it felt to me in a way, because I went to this big event, it was this big motivational event where I was learning from all these people. And I was like, all right, I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm doing it. And I came home Sunday night, I wrote my resignation letter. I walked in Monday, I gave it to my boss, and he was just like, what? And I kind of had felt like I just did it. But then as I was going through my laptop, I had a document that I'd been running for 6 months that was titled, why I need to leave my job. So I've been kind of racking up things that were happening. And a lot of it wasn't just the job itself. It was just how things were resonating with me, what I was going through, and just things that I knew I wanted to do differently. So, but yeah, looking back, I'm like, could I have side hustled? I think the person that I was, the workaholic that I was, I couldn't have made both happen. I think it's great for a lot of people to do that. If you have the boundary setting skills and you can make that work for you. But it just didn't work for me, and that's okay.
I love you brought up boundaries, right? Because I talk about boundaries a lot. I'm bad at making them, but I can talk and teach them really, really well. So, but you know, I think a lot of people, if they put the right boundaries on what they're doing and they are true to themselves and their values, they might realize what they're doing is just busy work. And that's probably why they're feeling the way they feel at night, that they don't feel fulfilled. It could be you're not doing what you're called to do. Exactly.
So, like you say, the busy work, that's such an important part of, I work on social media strategy development with people, and they don't realize, a lot of times people don't realize how important that is. It's important as your main business strategy, but if they don't do that, it creates all this busy work, and it's just, I got to do this thing and I got to put this out and I'm going to create this, I'm going to check on that. And it's a frantic state of being. And without having a plan and you're just doing that busy work, it's really exhausting. But then if you layer on too that you don't even enjoy what you're doing, that emotional exhaustion feels just like physical exhaustion. And then that also leads to you not taking care of yourself actively as well. So it's a whole vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's so funny how one can be just, you feel physically exhausted at the end of a day, especially when you're doing things that you don't like doing, even though you probably burned 0 calories, or very, very minimal calories, right?
Right.
Yeah, I got risk calories. So you mentioned about strategy and helping people with strategy, and I know that's kind of one of your big things. So walk us through, like, what is that process? And I know we haven't really talked about exactly what you're doing and how you're helping people with your business, but walk us through the point of helping somebody find the strategy with you.
Yeah. And sometimes it can be hard to convince a small business owner to take that time to do that, especially in today's world, where people have really, to use the cliche term of the year, have pivoted, and they're really just trying to keep up. But again, it gets back to, like Ron said, they're just busy and not necessarily making something happen. And so the focus on the strategy is, you can be doing all kinds of work, but if you're not reaching the right people, it's not going to help you. If you're not speaking to people in a way that comes from what you're passionate about and what your purpose is in your business, and really addressing the needs of those people, that message isn't going to get across. And then the perspective in social media is, I've worked with clients just training them on like LinkedIn or Facebook. I have literally seen people sit there for a good 20 minutes just not knowing what to put in that post box. And it's a source of anxiety for people, because they're like, I don't want to look like this person. And I don't want to, I don't want to be judged, and I don't know what to say. But all of that goes back to making your plan, because if you know what your purpose is, and you know what you're passionate about, and you're in integrity with yourself and who you're serving and why and how you're serving them, that message flows. And that's everything in reaching the people you're trying to reach online.
We got no audio, Ron.
How about now?
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm back. So you said so much right there that, Corey and I have experienced where, he doesn't, we've talked about it on the show multiple times. He's not a big social media person until we got together. I have a problem with hashtags. Like, I will spend hours trying to figure out what hashtags to use, and they're like, I don't even know if they're that important. Like, just to be completely honest, I mean, I do, but like for myself, like, it's easier for me to do it for clients,
right,
than for my own stuff, and that's something that's difficult. But let's talk a little bit about hashtags for people.
Yeah.
How do you go about getting people past that? I don't know what to put on the hashtag, right?
Yeah. So again, actually creating a hashtag strategy is important, because if you are, every time you do a post, you're like, what should I put? Here's a keyword. This one sounds like a fun emphasis. Go check a couple of things that went by that day. Is it really serving you? We don't know. And the idea is that, so I've written a couple of blogs and I call it hashtag desperation. And a lot of people just think that I'm going to use all these big hashtags and then everyone will see me and I'll get all this visibility. Well, that's just not the case, because one thing to keep in mind is that if you're using hashtags that are being used by millions of people, the only people really getting seen are those big influencers, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be, if Gary Vaynerchuk is trending in a hashtag and I go use it, that's not going to probably lead people to see my posts, right? Because when you go to the top, it's those influencers. Then there's the recent, at least on Instagram. Facebook is starting to use them a bit more. LinkedIn is also, but people are still like, what are you doing? Calm down, right? So you need to have a plan that's not just about the hashtags that you're using and how relevant they are, but also then applying it to the channel. And so one guideline that I give clients that I work with is, sure, pick a few from the top echelon that millions of celebrities are using, then pick a few others from that mid-range, and then pick a few smaller ones, because that's actually a huge gap that's out there. Because just because there might be 5,000 to 10,000 people using it, if they're your people, you're going to get seen there. And that's where it's about the quality over quantity. And so that strategy can take time, but at least you might say, all right, let's sit down for 2 hours, guys, and do some research and map out 4 categories, because then every time you post, you're like, this group, copy paste, this group, copy paste, and it's a lot easier.
So good. Yeah. So for someone that hates social, I was a certified Facebook voyeur back before Ron and I started working. I had
Thanks for that.
I should. I basically looked at some, family and friends and their posts, but I never once would post a single thing. People would tag me. I'm like, oh, there's something I'm posted in, but I would never do it myself. And so for people like me, and now obviously, this is live in multiple social platforms. Like I get the need for it, but walk our audience through, like, why, if they have any kind of entrepreneurship business, why should they be on social in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. And in particular, we've elevated our reason in today's world, because you can't really go see humans in the way that you used to. And a lot of businesses have literally had to shift from doing business live to selling on Facebook and selling on Instagram. So that's one big reason. But also, everything is in some way online these days. There was a statistic I just shared earlier in a webinar. I think it was 82% of people that are connected to a brand or looking something up online look for negative and positive reviews before they do business with you. And so you have to be there to capture that. You have to be there to respond and react to that. And you have to be there to establish your personal brand and your trust and your loyalty. So if some bad reviews come through, your community is like, what? Not her, not Ron, not Corey. They're the best. That's ridiculous, because people will do that. They'll come to your rescue if there's a troll or something bad out there. So part of it is you have to be able to monitor your brand and control it. And it just simply is the way that people do business today. Even if there was no pandemic right now, people do their research there. People are going to find you there. If someone refers somebody, if someone says, I'm selling my house, and they get a handful of realtors, they're going to go to LinkedIn and look those people up. And if your profile isn't there, next one. So you just have to find a place to be there in some way so that you have presence. And it really is, if there's no presence, there's also a lack of just truth and validation of your business and your brand.
Yeah, I love you said about monitoring your brand. I think so many people, Corey and I were in the restaurant field. I owned a restaurant, and we then helped people franchise restaurants. And there were so many people that just figured, hey, if I put a sign up that's a restaurant, I'm going to make money because it's a sign and it's food and people have to eat. That's not how that works. Like you actually have to go in, you have to do the work, you have to be a part of it, but you have to monitor the customer service, the brand, all of those pieces. Because if you don't do that, no one else is going to do it for you.
Exactly.
And no one's going to care as much as you do, right?
Yeah. And especially in the restaurant industry, places like that, Yelp is just free range commentary. And you just get someone who had a bad day, and they'll go out there and truly try to destroy you on Yelp. And you've got to be there to meet that.
Yeah. All right. So hashtag don't be a troll out there.
Exactly.
I figured out my first hashtag. No. All right. I want to shift gears a little bit because we've been talking a little bit about what you're doing now, and I want to dig into more. But before we get too far along, I want to hear about the past. I want to hear about, we all know hindsight's 2020, right? We all know if we had perfect hindsight, we would never make a mistake. So if you could go back in time with the knowledge that you have now and the hindsight ability, what advice would you go give a younger Sue?
Yeah.
Could have been a younger yesterday or younger 10 years ago.
I think what I would have told myself. So when I said in my role in the corporate world and in tech startup, I wore every hat. I pretty much did, except the sales hat. And that then when it became, wait, I'm selling me. And the realization that in my work, okay, I know I'm good at what I do and I'm trying this, I know customer service and I know technology and I know marketing and I know operations and I know finance. But the realization when I came out and was like, oh, yeah, I did management consulting for 5 years. Doesn't mean that, like you said, I hang a shingle and then there's a line out my door, and so it was okay. Also breaking that perception of you need to be a salesperson, because that scares a lot of people who think the icky car salesman or the people who drop into your messages like, I looked at your website, Ralph, and I can help you, and my name's not Ralph and I don't need your help on my website. But, it doesn't have to be that way. But would really be like, hey, Sue, you know what? You also need to be a salesperson. And that doesn't mean you need to be aggressive, and it doesn't mean you need to be annoying, but you need to kind of, what I work with people on now, craft your message, know who you're going after, what they need, and how you're going to help them. And that was the part that I didn't really formulate when I started my business. And when I realized that, like, my God, I have to be a salesperson. Crap. I would have liked to go back and lay the foundation for that a little bit more for myself before I just left my comfortable job.
Learn on someone else's dime, right?
Yeah, right.
That is so funny you brought that up. Corey and I think I just was telling him about a conversation my wife and I had about sales, and every personality profile, everything, every boss is like, you should go be a salesman. I'm like, I don't want to be in sales. That's good. No way. Right. And she goes, it's kind of like you're in sales now. I go, no, it's not. I'm not in sales at all. but it's interesting because there is a personality to it. And there is, if people struggle at sales, I would just say, have fun doing it. And then as you're having fun, your personality comes out. And once your personality comes out, you made it.
Exactly. And that's why taking that time to set that strategy, identify your mission and your purpose, that allows you to have fun with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Ron and I, we struggled until we knew what our message was, what our purpose was, right? Until we knew who we wanted to serve. And I know you and we are all part of a group of being coached by somebody that's the same. And one thing you had mentioned that I just would love to to hear more about is why you joined. And when the note I have was to help you define your who, and finding your deeper meaning of the who, right? Like that whole piece, because that is so important. And Ron and I spun our wheels doing absolutely nothing with zero results until we figured out that message. So like, tell us, like, I mean, obviously you've had some success since 09 and you've, adjusted your business through that time period, but talk to us about the who.
Yeah. So it's really interesting because in coming into, the coaching that we're doing, what I saw initially was a Facebook ad, and it was all about storytelling. And I've been working on that. I'm like, I really need to refine that. And I've been hearing things like everything coming at me was about like storytelling. And I'm like, I need to get more into this, sharing my story. And then I was tricked into all that inner work. But it was fantastic because it's what I needed was to define more. And I just think the timing of all of it coming together, because I started to feel like, okay, I've been helping so many people this whole time. I've been helping small business owners grow, sell, make money, build their communities. But I always felt like there was something I wasn't quite connecting in how I felt about it and what I was doing with people. And then I think also kind of coming together with this coaching group and everything that's been happening with the pandemic. And I started seeing so much fear and business owners having to make a decision. Do I shut down? And then I'm trying to talk to people, don't shut down. You can sell, go live on Facebook, do this on Instagram. I had a real estate agent that I had a session with the day before everything shut down in Illinois. She had never used Zoom. She had never gone live. And she was begging me to still meet with her. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that, but we're going to figure this out. And she ended up figuring out how to go live. I'm training her on Zoom like this, and she's screen sharing. And she was, I'm just going to cancel the open house. Well, she did it. She figured out going live. She practiced it. She kept the open house, went by herself, live streamed it. And then she was actually one of the first realtors to do it. So she was featured in one of the local real estate magazines for doing so. But I just thought, God, she was going to just, because of COVID, cancel her open house. Yeah. And that is a huge thing for somebody to do, because who knows what was going to come next, right? You cancel the next one. Now you're not going to sell that next property. And same thing with the local store owners. And then you pair that with what I see so much, and I've started referring to this as educational shaming. Now, there's all these experts out there on social media, and they know what they are doing. They're really good at what they do, but they're coming out there like, oh, I will never accept a LinkedIn request if you don't leave me a note. That's just ridiculous, and you're shooting yourself in the foot. And then enter about 20 more comments of people hating on people that do this. Meanwhile, you've got thousands and thousands of business owners and people who have lost jobs who are getting out there on LinkedIn for the first time going, what does that even mean? Oh my God, these people are all mad. I don't know what this means. I'm just not going to do it. Forget it. And that makes me so angry, because this is where these people need to be right now. And because they're relying on some expert, and I've done a lot of polls on this because I found my fire, right? So I did a lot of polls on this. And there's a lot of things that you would expect, like imposter syndrome and compare and despair. And I don't understand the technology. I cannot even tell you how many times someone literally wrote out, I'm afraid I'll look like an ass. And I'm like, wow, your business is at stake. You lost your job, and educational shamers are making you hold back and not do it. So that really pivoted me into more of a mission. And I created this social media sanity challenge, because all of these things, you have to do that work to feel good about what your value is and what you have to offer and what you're passionate about. But it also comes down to get that crap out of your feed, right? Stop listening to it. Stop going in. You can backdoor into your Facebook page. You can backdoor into your Facebook group. You can hide people. There's a lot of ways to do that so that you can create a safer space for yourself mentally and emotionally, so that then you can just own your value and do what you need to do to survive right now and keep making money.
Oh my gosh, this reminds me of a story, and I think Corey's probably going to remember the story when I start talking about it. It's about he and I's feeds on Facebook. Okay, so this goes back to when we were doing networking, and all I was seeing was that, and it was driving me up the wall. And he's like, I don't see that at all. I was like, what do you mean? Like, we're doing the same thing, right? And he goes, oh, well, this was when he was trying to get me into ClickFunnels, and this was a while ago. And he's like, all I see is this person, this person, this person, and how they're doing this and how they're doing this, and I'm learning this. And I'm like, I don't see any of that, right? What is going on? Why do you get to see all the good stuff, and I'm seeing the stuff that's driving me up the wall? But it was about controlling your feed, right? Controlling the information that you get, not in a crazy newsy way like that's happening, but to really understand you're in control of that feed, and it's responding to the stuff you're putting out there, thinking it's helping you and giving you the stuff you're asking for, right? And if it's not, you're asking for the wrong stuff, and you have all the power in the world to change your feed.
Yes. Yeah. It's the same thing as like the energy you put out is the energy that returns. And that's how social media works too. And yes, it's driven by algorithms, but we are informing those algorithms, and people don't realize what they can do with that, and the fact that their actions and behaviors are begetting more of that. And I love this example you guys just gave, because you two are business partners and you had completely different experiences.
Oh my gosh, it was driving me up the wall, because he goes, I don't even see that person anymore. I was like, how do you not even see that person anymore? Like, how do you not even see that person anymore? I go, did you unfollow him? No. What do you mean no? Like, how do you not see that person? It's right there.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it too is, and that's part of what I do in this challenge is just, hey, find people to unfollow, unfriend, clean your feed up. But even if you don't want to do that, the way that you engage, you shift your echo chamber.
Right.
And that just changes everything. The way you engage with other people, what you decide to have conversations on that's presented to you, and going outbound and finding things like, hey, you know what? If I just became friends with Corey on Facebook or just connected with Ron on LinkedIn and I don't see your content, I'm going to make it a point to go to your profile and interact with something important, because then Facebook or LinkedIn is going to say, oh, you didn't want to just connect with them. You want to actually see their stuff. Okay, I get it. Right. So we need to send those messages. We need to be more proactive with what we're doing so that the signals we send are intentional and not just responses.
Yes. Be intentional with everything. So two questions here. Or one, when's the next sanity challenge?
That's a great question. So I do have a Facebook group that is the Social Sanity Challenge Facebook group. And what I've been doing is I set the challenge up there, and then I've been going live every day with this 30-day challenge that's been, in our group of insiders. And I am planning to kick off another one after Thanksgiving. So probably the first week of December, because essentially what I'm doing is I'm building another course out of this, but I want to offer it to people during this time, work out the kinks, get feedback from people, and then it will ultimately become a course that I'll be selling as well. But yeah, I'm going to do another one probably first week in December, depending when I get back from the other direction, back from Florida. And so I'll definitely be putting that out there. But there's always content going on in the group. But yeah, I'm going to refine it and go through the whole process again, because I think it's an important time with the holidays. It's a whole nother layer of stress for a lot of people, and another lockdown that has just been presented to a lot of us. So I think it's a good time to help people strategize, set up a peaceful process and structure for themselves to operate so that they can go hit it hard for 2021.
Love it. We're going to have to get the link and join you for the next Sanity Challenge.
Yes.
I want to pull my hair out.
And I'd love to hear how your feeds change. You're already onto it, but I'd love to hear if you can experience a little bit more. And there's also processes, right, and ways that I set people up so that they can just completely avoid the news feed if they feel like it.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
I hate
one more question, Ron. I'm going to cut you off because
no, it's fine.
I got to go. All right. you're in the insiders group. You saw a Facebook ad and then were sold on the storytelling and joined us with Catherine Jones.
Yes.
But walk us through, like, walk us through any other mentors you've had, even before entrepreneurship, but the last 10 years, have you found yourself following anybody just on the side, or have you invested in yourself with other coaches? Like, walk us through that whole process. And if there's multiple, like, tell us. I'd love to hear kind of other folks' process when it comes to investing in themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting because even when I left my job in 2009, I had started seeing a coach back then. And back then it was still not quite like in 2009, coaching was like, I don't get it. It's not a therapist. Is it just someone telling me what to do? I don't understand. And like even the CEO of Google at the time had started to come out and say, everyone should have a coach. Every executive should have a coach. And everyone's like, he's gone woo woo, and it was just kind of starting to become a very popular thing, and not just personal, but business and executive coaching. And I had been turned on to the idea just through a lot of other kind of spiritual growth and personal growth conferences and things that I was attending. And so I started working with a guy, and it really started, took me through that process of coming to terms with myself in why am I unhappy here? What is it I'd rather be doing? What's important to me in life? And so that process was really so moving for me that one of the first things I ended up doing after I quit that job was I enrolled myself into a 6-month coaching program to get certified myself. And so that was the first thing I started doing. I was a certified life and business coach. And I just remember going through that process and thinking, everyone in the world needs to do this. Like, I don't care if you're actually going to use the certification to actively do it. But what ends up happening is everyone that was in that program with me and people I know have continued to do this, it doesn't mean you have to go out and be a life coach. It doesn't mean you have to go out and be an executive coach. But the skill set that brings to you in the work that you're doing in any way, people are coaching, or people are social media consultants, or people are fitness instructors, or people are running a sales team at a manufacturing plant. It just helps you lead better, and it helps you connect and understand people better. So I think that's something that's helped differentiate me in my work, in that I'm not someone who says, you have to do this and you have to do it this way, and here's your template, right? I take from people, what are they passionate about? Why are they doing what they're doing? Maybe a lawyer should use TikTok or Pinterest. I don't know. Let's figure out what you love to do, right? So it comes from that perspective. But then I definitely continued to follow other people to just really elevate. Gary Vaynerchuk has always been someone that I followed, and I kind of have a love-hate relationship with him because I've learned so much from him, but he is also that hustle mindset that gives people that anxiety and overwhelm. So it's a good person for me to follow in, like, here's the things that make sense and that work for a small business owner. And here are the things that maybe you're just not ready for yet, and that's okay. And then Mari Smith is another one. She has taught me everything I know about Facebook. Mari Smith is basically the global Facebook queen. I think she knows more about Facebook than Mark Zuckerberg. So there are people that I continue to follow. But yeah, throughout, I've always had a business coach of some sort. But Catherine has just taken it to complete new levels, and I'm really excited about that. And the timing was just perfect.
Yeah, Catherine's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. All right. Well, I'm sure people are like, I need to get some social strategy in my world. And they're probably like, how do I get in touch with her? So where can our listeners find you or get in touch with you?
Excellent. Well, you can find me at SueKoch.com. I've been actually doing strategy workshops because, if people aren't ready for a big longer term investment, their business is struggling and they're trying to figure out what to do. I've actually created a webinar workshop that I'm going to be doing monthly. So if people want to get on my list for that, they can go to SueKoch.com. And then I'm also creating a social media vault of courses. And so that's actually socialmediavault.com is another place where people can get on my list. And what I'm so excited about is that I have Google Drives of presentations and content and training resources and tutorials and case studies that I've been doing for the last 10 years on a Google Drive collecting dust. And I've been thinking for the longest time, like, I need to do something with this. There's so much value here. And so this opportunity that we've been presented with, again, was perfect timing for me to create something like that. So it's going to have everything you need from foundation to advanced, of setting up the process, the structure, the strategy, and then into the different channels that people may decide to venture into. So that's in the works. And if people want to get in on that early, again, like my social sanity challenge, it's going to be a bit of a beta proving ground that we can have fun with and get in to provide the feedback and get it at a really good, great opportunity. So.
Well, I love it. I'm sure you'll see Ron and I's email in that list to get in there. But, all right. So last question for me. And first off, Sue, I want to thank you so much for being here today. Definitely been a pleasure to talk with you and get to know you even further here. Such like-minded, just experiences from working the corporate world to going on our own. And at the end of the day, like, just your whole take on sales, right? Like, all of us, I feel like we're about the same. And the fact that if you buy from me, awesome. I'm going to talk to you about it. I'm going to give you the offer, and you like it, you like it. If you don't, it's okay. It's okay. Not for everybody, right? And we're kind of that same, like, that's why I don't mind sales now, because at the end of the day, I'm not out there pushing and hustling. I'm just offering what I have. And if you like it, awesome. So,
right. Exactly. There's enough for everyone, and not everyone is for everyone. And that's all right.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, big goal for 2021, right? You're getting ready to launch this vault. You're getting ready to go through another challenge for a course. Like, what's the ultimate goal for Sue in 2021?
My ultimate goal is that I do have a community of people who really embrace their value, have been able to save their business, grow their business, get those jobs in spite of what the pandemic has faced them with, and that further propagate that message of basically strategy, sanity, and then keeping yourself educated and moving on to those next bigger and better things. Because like you said about the sales thing, if you're uncomfortable with that, it's really about the messaging, and it's really about connecting with people. And when you know what you've got in here and you value that, and you get rid of all that other noise and the things that hold you back, and you put that out there, that's what's going to make it happen. So my big goal for 2021 is just that, being able to help hundreds, hopefully thousands of people continue forward in their entrepreneurial journeys or jobs, and continue learning and accelerating that so that they can continue to do more and more and help more and more people in turn.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks so much for coming. I know you've probably got a ton of people that are listening that will be heading your way. So we're excited that you spent the time with us today.
Oh, I appreciate it, guys. It's an honor to be here and join you and share. And I'm just really excited to see the rest of your series you have coming up with all the great people I know you've got lined up.
All right. Thanks so much, Sue. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye.
Ooh, all right. Another good one in the books. I sure hope everyone out there listening enjoyed Sue. But first and foremost, before we wrap it up, what do we got for a couple of takeaways, Ron?
I'm looking at five, trying to figure out which ones he is. So
you got to cut some of those down.
I'm cutting some. Let's go with the should-haves. I think that's important, right? So it's almost the end of the year, right? Where people are going to start making the famed, I'm not going to do something huge in January, the resolution that is going to end in February, right? I'm going to put a challenge out now. Like, why don't you just make a choice and not have the should-haves in 2021? Think of it like this. 2020 took away something that you were used to doing, and you had to get uncomfortable to do something different. So why don't you purposely go get uncomfortable and see what amazing things happen? So that's one.
Love it.
That's one. Second one, this one was vital to us, something that I know helped us tremendously. Get rid of excess noise.
Yep.
Find a couple people, really understand what they're about, put it into practice, actually take action steps to make progress in your business or your side hustle or whatever it is you're doing, but actually make action steps and goals to make things happen.
Yes, love it. So if anybody out there listening, take a moment and stop. Remove all the excess noise, right? Find a way that you can improve upon yourself, whether it's through a coach, because even Google says everyone should have a coach, right? And so if you stop, get rid of the excess noise, find the coach. And then my favorite thing that Sue had said today was find your fire, right? So if you got rid of the noise, you went ahead and got rid of the should-haves because you found your fire in 2021, nothing will stop you. Take the time the rest of 2020 and find your fire, get rid of the should-haves, and make something impactful for your life and others for next year. But all right, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Definitely, if you're not in our Facebook group, go check it out. It is facebook.com/groups/now22. We would love to see you there. And again, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Guys, thanks for being the best part of the Hindsight Hackers community.